Also sponsoring with them is Old Mutual, EcoCash, Shafrickson Bank, CBZ Holdings, FBC Holdings, Zida, ZB Financial Holdings, Clear Mobitel, Remit Hope, the Southern African Times, as well as Putting Shed Events. If I can have Dr. Sylvette Mandega, who's the Executive Director at Diaspora Insurance, to come to the podium. Sylvette, the podium is yours.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's very hard to be the last presenter. I think I've been listening all day, and I'll try to be as fast as I can and to engage you as well as I can. So as you said, my name is Sylvette. I'm from Diaspora Insurance. So thank you so much. And my topic is slightly different. Everybody has been talking about Zimbabwe, the investment opportunities, the challenges, and so forth. But this afternoon, I'm just going to slightly focus on the UK black business community. The challenges that we face here, because Diaspora Insurance is a company that's based in the UK. I'm just going to give you a bit of history and background of who we are. So we're just going to look at some of the challenges that black-owned business or small to medium enterprises face. Not necessarily in the UK, but it is also applicable whether in Zimbabwe or wherever you are. So I think David, who was here, was talking about where we are as Zimbabwe in terms of our GDP per capita. He said Zimbabwe is around 2.2, so $2,200 per person, and the US is around $63,000 in terms of GDP per person. So that's a big gap. And I just want to ask the masses here, or the people in this auditorium, to give a hazard to say what sort of percentage of that output in the US is driven by small companies. By small company, I mean a company that employs 250 or less people. Anybody, I guess, what sort of percentage of output is contributed by small companies in the US? How much? 6%. 60. I hear 60. 80. 80%. 75%. Okay? So yeah, I mean the figures they're almost accurate. So US is, I think, is about at present is about 43% is driven by small to medium enterprises. So that shows the significance of these small companies. So for us as Zimbabwe, if we want to get there, I mean that growth or that gap is going to be driven by our small companies. I know in Zimbabwe most people are employed either in the small companies or in the informal sector. So for us, there are some challenges and there are some things that we can actually see that, okay, such a big economy like the US, most of their growth is coming from the small companies. It means that these small companies, there's something that is fundamentally correct that they're doing to drive the economy to where it is right now. The story is the same even here in the UK. You can see that in the UK only last year, about 846,000 small businesses were formed. And they employ close to 60% of the workforce. So that's almost over 2/3 of the people are employed by small companies. So that shows that if we are going to close that gap, we have to do things right. But most of the times, these small companies, they face challenges which are varied. They're not just unique to the UK, they're the same in Zimbabwe and so forth. And as a way of statistics, about 5% of companies that are formed in the UK, 5% of them fail in the first year. So the mortality rate is very high. By the fifth year, almost a third of the companies are out of business. When you get to 10 years, probably less than a third of the companies are already existing. And Diaspora Insurance, we've been in existence for 13 years. So that shows that we have managed to go past that hurdle of 10 years. So for people, when they're looking at a company, in terms of success, when you're outside, it looks like something that's very straightforward. It's a straight arrow. But in fact, success is a squiggle. There are so many challenges. You go in groups and challenges. This is what I want to talk about, how to overcome those challenges. So this is our story. As a company, Diaspora Insurance, we've been established in the last 12 years. We've grown into a multi-million-dollar company. What we do as a company is that as an insurance company, we provide funeral insurance targeted at people in the diaspora, Africans basically. Initially, we started off with the Zimbabwe because the company was founded by Zimbabweans, so that's a market that we understood. This was informed by personal tragedies. I experienced people losing their loved ones here in the diaspora, and there are no affordable insurance products. So we went on to provide, to design a very unique product where a Zimbabwean could insure themselves and also insure their family members back home in Zimbabwe. It was a struggle. It was not an easy journey. But now we're covering more than 24 African nationalities globally, not just in the UK, in Europe, USA, Canada, Australia. To date, I think we got a team of about 100 people spread across the UK and also South Africa. So the challenges that I just want to talk about that most businesses face are very common. And the first thing is that we just want to understand what a real business is. So the definition that I have for a real business is a commercial entity that is profitable and that functions without you as a business owner. I don't know how many business owners are here in this room. And how many, if you are not there, are you confident that your business is running right now, or you constantly have to pick up the phone, people talking to you, or they're on a beach, or you can't go on a holiday? So so a business, it needs systems to run. People don't run a business, but they run the systems that are in the business. So what I mean by system, people may think that if I'm talking about system, I'm talking about IT systems or computers, but there are three different types of systems. There are your IT systems, definitely. Then there's your soft systems that I'm going to talk about, and the hard systems that you talk about, probably your production systems, and how your business is laid out, how you produce your goods and services. So let's look at how this problem of lack of systemization, because most businesses, why they don't scale up to this to a stage or to a level where they want them to be, is that most businesses are formed by people who previously have been employers, working somewhere for someone, and then for one day you just wake up and think, I think I just need to run my own business. Maybe I think this room is full of accountants. You've been pushing or doing the books for 20 years. You're the best accountant in the firm. And all of a sudden, lightning hits you, and you think that I can actually open up my own accounting firm. So this is where the problem starts. You are very good at doing accounting, or whichever profession that you're doing. Maybe you are a chef working in a hotel, and you think that making good meals and so forth will qualify you to actually run a successful restaurant or hotel. So this is what we call an entrepreneurial seizure, where you actually suddenly seized by this desire to run your own business. So it could maybe one day you're actually thinking that I'm gonna be the next person to be promoted, and then that promotion passes you over. Then you're like, okay, why am I working for these people? These people are not good. I'm actually the best in the team, so let me go and start my own thing. But the biggest problem is that most of us, we think that knowing the technical side of the business is the same as knowing the business that actually does the technical of it. You get that? right? So this is where where the problem starts. So when you move from a job and going to start your own business, be it accounting, be it running a bakery or running a restaurant, when you set up that business, you will then continue to focus on the technical skills that you're very good at. If you're an accountant, you still keep on pushing those books at night. If you are a carpenter, you keep on working, making those, whatever, I don't know, furniture, because that's what you're good at. Because when you look at it, when you analyze a business person or anybody, 10% of us is an entrepreneur. There's always that entrepreneur in us. The entrepreneur is the one that comes up with the big ideas of what I want to start a business. And also within us, there's also a manager, 20% of us. So the manager is the person or that personality within us that wants to set systems, controls, and policies in place. And then 70% is the technician. So the technician is being the accountant, being the doctor, being the carpenter, doing the actual work. So when you go on to now start your own business, the 70% is the one that dominates. But initially, so what you've done now is you've created yourself a job, which you had already before. You continue to work as an accountant in your own firm or in your own company. But what you've realized is that you've also created yourself multiple jobs that you've also got to fill, which you are not capable of. So that is a conundrum that most of us face. So that is what we call that. That's the fatal assumption that we are caught up in. That if I know the technical bit of this job, then I will understand the business that actually does that technical bit. So this is where most of our businesses fail. So this is where our businesses struggle. Why, if we see that so many people move into business, and within a year the businesses fail, because they thought that, okay, I was good at this, so I must be very good at also running a business. But there's a whole lot of things that go on behind running a business. So the things that you want to ask yourself is, how do I get my business to work without myself? How do I get my people to work without me constantly interfering in them and picking and also checking over their shoulders to see what they're doing? Constantly checking or asking people like, oh, did you turn up for work? What time did you come in? Did you submit that report? So if you want to run a successful business, the question that you want to ask yourself, if you are going to replicate that business 5,000 times, the 5,000th unit, is it going to perform the same as the first unit? If you can do that, then you've created a business that is systemized. A good example is McDonald's. How many of us go to McDonald's? Come on. Almost everybody goes to McDonald's. McDonald's is a very good example of a systemized business. You go in there, how they make their burgers is exactly the same way, whichever McDonald's you visit. So McDonald's started in 1952 when two guys noticed that how when they visited this baker, they went to a fair, and this guy was actually serving burgers in exactly the same way. The burgers were designed in exactly the same way. So he saw it was a money-making machine. And then they bought McDonald's and then they franchised it. So if you go to China, it's the same way that they do their business. If you go to America, here in the UK, it's the same. So they have created systems that will make their business the same. So it's much easier to run, it's much easier to scale. But what we normally do is, when you go into business, is that you go into the business, you think that going to a business is actually a place to work, not necessarily, it's a place to work, so that's the problem. And where you thought it was an entrepreneurial dream, initially started off as a dream, I want to set up my business, it turns out to be a nightmare. Because we are not able, we fail to systemize the business. So that's how this is where the problem is. Because most of us, we spend 90% or 99% of our time working in the business rather than working on the business. So there's a big difference there. So working in the business, doing the actual work as a technician. So this is why most of the small businesses or black-owned businesses don't grow, because we spend a lot of time actually doing the work itself. So when you started off, I can give an example. When you started off, it is in Diaspora Insurance, me and my colleague, we didn't know about this concept. So we would actually, because we sell, it's insurance-based business, right? So you sell policies to people. So my colleague is called Jeff. So we would kind of like, on a day, try to compare who has sold more policies. But we were business owners, actually on the phone, calling clients and say, so there was one day when I can't remember how many policies he sold. Then he sent me a message saying, "Kwa time also the boss and was We were so much pleased by selling policies rather than actually working on the business. So in that period, we were not doing much. We were concentrating on talking to clients and so forth and so forth. So this is the challenge that most businesses face, is that we spend a lot of time working in the business rather than on the business. So for us to transcend and make sure that we grow, whether it's in Zimbabwe or here in the UK, we want to make sure that our businesses are systemized, they are scalable, they can run without the business owner. Even you guys are accountants, right? If you're going to value a company, obviously a business that has got systems that can run without its owner, if you want to sell it, you can sell it at multiples that are higher than a business that actually depends on its owner. So why would I buy a company from you if that company cannot run on its own without you? Why? I can't do that as an investor. So this is where the issue is. So there are the 8 or 9 steps that I'm just going to highlight or whiz through. That if you follow those, we're able to create a business that you can replicate so many times, that you can scale up.
Leave your family with love and dignity, not financial burden. At Diaspora Insurance, no medical checks are needed, guaranteed acceptance. Cover yourself and loved ones globally for diasporans and family back home. We offer immediate cash payout within 24 hours. Choose how you're remembered with our flexible cover: burial, repatriation, or cremation. Protect yourself and family. Peace of mind guaranteed. Get your peace of mind today. Visit diasporainsurance.com.
Your suppliers, they will know exactly where you're going. So it emotionally connects them to you. They even work harder if that vision is very clear. So our vision is very simple as Diaspora Insurance. We aspire to be that global leader of that provides insurance products to Africans in the diaspora. I said we started off with just providing our services to Zimbabwe. Now we're providing our services to 24 African nationalities. So that's our vision. So that vision has been guiding us to say, in terms of expansion, expansion of our products and services across the globe. So a vision is very important because people don't necessarily buy your product. They actually buy why you do it, why are you doing it. This is why it's so key for us to create a vision. Mission is also important. Number 3, that one is very important. The key thing is culture. So we want to create a culture. So what is a culture actually? And why is it important? So culture, you can define it in so many ways. It's hard to define, but usually people say culture is how we do things here. That's the culture. Those who follow football, one guy called Mauricio Pochettino in his autobiography said it's actually an ingredient to the success of a club. I was talking about Tottenham. Tottenham, those who don't know Tottenham, is that team that is always beaten by Chelsea. So Chelsea is playing Tottenham, guaranteed 3 points. So the manager was very transformed the culture at Tottenham. I think when he was managing, Tottenham was very average, mediocre team. But when he managed them, I think he took them at some stage to the finals of the Champions League. I'm not a football fan, but I know how he did that through transforming the culture of Tottenham. But often, we don't normally focus on culture as business people. We don't normally focus on how culture is important, especially in making sure that our business is successful, that whatever we do, even when you're recruiting someone into your business, a new person, right? If your culture is not defined, people just turn up anytime they want, they leave anytime they want, then it becomes a problem. But if you set your culture right at the beginning, when they go into your enterprise, they will know their expectations that this place here is a place for productivity. Our culture here is about, in Diaspora Insurance, it's results driven. Because we are an insurance company, we just want the numbers. That's the culture that we have. The culture of productivity. That's the culture that we always encourage. But often people don't pay attention to culture. There's a story of two young fish that were swimming in the sea, and then an older fish was swimming in the opposite direction. Then the older fish said to the guys, "Morning guys, how is the water?" So the young fish swam by. Then after a while they realized, what the heck is water? What is water? So these fish, because they live in the water, so they didn't realize that there's something called water. So that's exactly the same thing that we do to culture. Sometimes we forget that actually culture is ubiquitous. It is around us. It is in everything that we do, what we say, how we think, and how we connect with our customers and our clients. So to show the importance of culture in terms of running a business, two professors at Stanford University ran a prospective study for about 15 years, from 1994, I think, looking at about 200 companies in the Silicon Valley. They concluded that culture was one of the most important factors in terms of success of these companies. Because from 1994 and up to 15 years, I think it takes it up beyond the dot-com bubble. And you know, Silicon Valley, this is the place, I think one of the panelists here said was from Silicon Valley. So he's from Silicon Valley. So this is where your tech companies are based. Obviously, when the dot-com bubble burst in 2000, most of the companies in Silicon Valley were affected. But these guys, when they did the research, they found that most of the companies that were successful were based on culture. But they found out that culture is not binary. It's not about good cultures or bad cultures. There are 5 different cultures that they found from these 200 companies. Now, those companies which focus mainly on star performers, when they go out to recruit the people, they recruited highly talented people who are very smart, the best in the university, who scored probably high scores. They were engineering companies that only focused on skills and technical skills. And then there were companies that focused on, that were rule-based, focused on policies and focused on systems. Then you had the autocracies, where on top of having those rules and systems, these rules were actually designed for one person who happened probably to be the CEO of the company, just to please him. And then you had companies that had commitment cultures, where teamwork was important, support was important. There was a strong connection to the company. These are people who are connected to the company. And they found that, in terms of performance, they found that the commitment model actually outperformed all the different cultures. The companies that had the star performers did not do so well. Why? Because imagine if you got people who are the best in everything, put them together in a room, there's going to be a clash of egos. So nobody wants to listen to what the next person is saying. So it is quite important when you're setting out your culture in your business, what sort of culture are you going to promote? Are you just going to focus on recruiting the best? Are you going to focus on just focusing on systems and policies? Or you want to create a model where everybody's involved, where there is teamwork? So that's very important. The other fourth step in systemizing our business is creating smart goals. Goals are very important because they give you clarity and focus. And when you communicate, it's easy to communicate your goals to your team members. So majority of small businesses don't even have a goal. We ask them, okay, what is your goal this quarter? None of them can do that. What is your yearly goals? And these goals can be financial, marketing, operations, and people, and personal goals. But we need to focus mainly on cash when it comes to financial goals. What is the cash flow of the business? Because profit and revenue are very tricky measures or tricky goals to set. You accountants, you know that when you calculate profit, there's quite a lot of fluff that you put in there to massage the profit if I want to. That's true, we know that. You can actually go there, massage the depreciation. No, I think last year we depreciated this asset so much, let's revalue it. Then comes making in the profit and loss account as a revaluation gain. Then the profit is bumped down. Yeah? That's what accountants do, they do that. So when you're setting your goals, just a joke. When you're setting your goal, make sure you focus on cash. Cash is key. When you do your valuation of a business, people usually look at cash from your operating activities, rather. Because from cash, that's where you can you can invest in your working capital, your capex, you can pay your dividends and so forth. So cash is important. Fifth is make sure that you got organizational charts. Who is in your team? The current and the future. You need to make sure that is clearly documented. It helps in succession planning. The other thing is about contracts. Make sure that we got contracts that are written. Another big thing which helps to make sure that our business is successful is make sure that our teams are measured. Have clearly defined KPIs for each team member. And number 8, this is very important, how to do manuals. Have we documented all the processes and systems in your business? So that if there is a new person that comes in, they know exactly what they're going to do. If you're going to open a branch in Bulawayo, are they going to perform exactly the same as a business or as a branch in Mutare, in Gokwe, in Pintura? Because if things are not documented, so there's a big variation. Somebody can just do whatever they want. So make sure that it's clearly documented and it's and it's accessible. So you can have checklists, flowcharts. This can be in video form or audio form. The other biggest challenge that most businesses face, people are talking about finance. This is not just unique to Zimbabwe business, but even here in the UK, small businesses, particularly black-owned businesses, they struggle to raise capital. So this limits growth, this limits scale, this limits us even to start the business. 39% of black entrepreneurs struggle to get loans from financial institutions here in the UK. And so solutions, what we need to do about this, we need to train our entrepreneurs, make sure they understand how to write business plans. I think David was talking about how he helps people to write business plans and so forth and so forth. So you can't go to a financial institution to get a loan or so forth without a detailed business plan. You have to make sure you get that learning. Even write pitch decks. When you want to go and pitch to investors, they want to see that pitch deck in place. You need to be well networked. We need to build a network of angel investors within our black community. The reason why some communities and societies have done well here in the UK is because they have built a network of angel investors to support people, young people or entrepreneurs who are coming into the game, who want to invest, who can't find funding. So we need to do that as communities to build. If I come with an idea, you got the money, why don't we come together? You invest in my idea, or I invest in your idea. The other challenge is that we, as small businesses, there's lack of professional support. We don't have networks. We don't belong to any professional body, most of us. It's good that you guys belong to a professional body where you can share ideas, network, and so forth. The other challenge that most small businesses find is that they don't have mentors. There's no one to look up to within our community. We don't have coaches, so solutions is let's participate in networking events instead of spending a lot of time chatting on social media, talking about Manchester United, Tottenham, and so forth. Let's network. Let's join professional organizations. Let's get coached. So coaching is very important. Why top sport professionals perform very well? Even those that are at their highest or the peak of their careers, they got coaches. So why is it that as a business person who's actually struggling, you don't have a coach? Invest in a coach, invest in a mentor. You see a business taking a new turn. So the other challenge is that we don't have senior people who are in these big positions, especially here in the UK. 3% of the FTSE, FTSE is kind of like the top 100 biggest companies in the world in the UK by market capitalization. So 3% of those people are only black. So what it means is that there's a lack of depth in terms of experience on how to run businesses. So it's a challenge here in the UK. So we want to make sure to push. I mean, this involves a lot of people, the government, the corporations, and so forth. So in conclusion, we've noted that small businesses, not just in the UK, but globally, actually drive the economy, whether in the US, Germany, UK, Zimbabwe, but they face a lot of challenges. But these challenges can also be fixed by us as business owners, making sure that our businesses are systemized, and also we need to get help from build our networks, participate in events like these, get networked and get coaching. So thank you so much for your time.
Mr. President, if you can assist us. So thank you for that insightful set of tips for small businesses and what we need to do. Then our final part of our program is a last panel discussion titled Leveraging Diaspora Investments, Unlocking the Potential of Zimbabweans Abroad. And if you can put your hands together and help me welcome Farai Mfuti, the Chief Executive Officer of the Southern African Times. You can come and check the program. And I'll give him the pleasure of introducing this plan forward. I don't know this people.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have you had a good afternoon so far? Yeah. You guys look tired, huh? Yeah, you're tired. We'll keep it nice and short. Oh, shit, we can leave now. I'm joking like that, I'm sorry, I don't have that control. Okay, maybe make sure we just stand up a little, just to flex, just relax a little, huh? Just flex. I know we could jump here like we're back in university. Some of us can just stretch a little. Just relax. Yeah? So we'll keep it nice and short, guys. Yeah, let's take our seats. Let me quickly introduce the panelists. Yeah? So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to be moderating the final panel discussion, which is as said by our esteemed MC, who, by the way, give him a round of applause, he's doing a brilliant job. You're doing a great job. Right, now, so I'll quickly introduce our panelists. So first is David Smith, who is the British African Business Alliance Chairman. Welcome, David. Then we have Dr. Brighton Chireka, founder and medical director of Doc BC Leadership Academy. Then we have a good friend, Justin Boni, Chief Executive Officer of SE and VFX. And then we have Eugene Niziyamana. He's from Rwanda, not from Zimbabwe, so I'm not mispronouncing anything here. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the African Business Chamber. That's it. Thank you. So, panel, we are here to discuss how we are leveraging and unlocking the diaspora. Very interesting topic, I think. I want to start with you, Justin. Interestingly enough, you guys have done a lot of work to try and engage. You've had a number of events here in the diaspora. For the last, I think, 3 years, you've been coming back and forth. Before we go any further, because I know that we've talked about, on releasing bonds, talking about the diaspora, how do we leverage this, how do we pivot on this market? Do you have any success stories so far in terms of the work you've done with the diaspora as a stock market?
It's not been as good as we want it to be honest about it. So if you look at our market in Zimbabwe, the capital markets in Zimbabwe, 4 or 5 years ago, half of the investment was from foreigners. So foreigners used to make about 50% of the market, locals about 50%, and the foreigners have come down quite a bit. And our strategy has always been how do you fuel that 50% when it's coming down? And there are 2 possible sources. One source is the local retail market in the country. The second one is the diaspora. And we have had more success with the local retail than we've had with the diaspora. And a couple of reasons why. And when you think about it logically, although they are diaspora, they are foreigners. So I think that's one of the things that I've realized that we need to think about. They are foreigners. The reason why I say they are foreigners is because they have got access to foreign investment. So when they are thinking about bringing money into Zimbabwe, they also have access in their markets that they are in. Right. So you have to make it attractive to them. And they also worried about the same thing that foreigners worry about. For example, getting their money out, worried about changing policy. So they're almost like foreigners. Yeah. So you have to do, as you get more and more attractive as a market, and you can attract diaspora, you're most closely attracting foreigners as well. So what we've done now then is to work hard to make our market more attractive for foreigners. So that's one of the reasons why we did the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, where the currency risk goes away, the tax incentives, there's no capital gains tax, so it's very competitive worldwide. And as things progress, where it becomes part of the International Financial Center, it's going to become even more attractive. And we think that the people that will come in first will be the diaspora than the foreigners. But you have to treat the diaspora as foreigners. They don't owe you.
What are you doing in terms of messaging to sort of educate the diaspora about these products?
Okay. So what we've done, conferences like this help where we explain to people what we're doing. Yeah. I always believe one of the things that you do is that when people have lost faith in you, you have to be patient with them. You have to come in year after year after year and say, this is what we're doing. So if you look at the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, when we first came here, it was a very small exchange. I think we had maybe one or two companies that are listed. By the end of this year, we should be close to 20. Our market cap should be close to $2 billion US. So we are growing. So our belief is that the more you come and you explain what you're doing and just showing success year after year, that's how we do. You don't expect people to trust you.
And that's true. And congratulations for the work you've done so far. I remember when you started, and it's quite a long journey to where we are now. So congratulations on that. David, you have an interesting situation, given you work with the British Business Africa Alliance. Now, you guys you promote investment in African markets, especially in the UK market. Are you finding, given what he's just said, are you finding that we are getting a lot of uptake from diaspora with an interest to go back and invest? And if you have, are there any tangible examples you can point to us?
Yes, we do see that. We also see a lot of skepticism, especially where brothers and small houses are concerned. But I had an interesting conversation on Friday night in Harare, where a gentleman from Nottingham has gone back and he's set up a chicken farm with 50,000 birds. And he's doing this with a partner from Australia. They're doing chicken and cattle. And I think that the difference between I'm going to set up my own business and do my own thing, and I'm going to take 10, 20, 30 grand and invest it in something in Zimbabwe are two completely different conversations. You've got to have a lot of confidence to commit to an organisation that you don't know, and management system that you don't know. When you're investing in yourself and your own thing, then it's somewhat different, and you're perhaps more relaxed over the quality of the management because it's you than you would be if it was someone else.
Well, one would hope so.
Yeah.
No,
So those sorts of things are going on. I saw pictures of the chicken farm, and it looked absolutely superb. The equipment's come from Germany. The chickens are there. They're growing and making meat and making eggs.
It's amazing. Thank you for that example. Doc, Dr. Chika, you've done a lot of work over the years in Zim, and I know you have horror stories, but I'd like to start with the best one. I'm not trying to lose my job. You guys can pay me next year. So, with healthcare in Zim, we have a lot of challenges there. And I think I've always thought that the greatest gap there in terms of finance and building infrastructure is the diaspora. You do a lot of work in that, but the nursing program you do, taking doctors back home and so forth. What are the success stories you're seeing now? Where are the gaps? What would you tell a policymaker to rethink, to sort of reshape if there are any challenges? It could be perfect for you. Doctor?
Thank you very much for your question, and I just want to make an observation. We have had a great event, but if you notice, there was almost silence about our health system. I just want to say to everyone that health is an investable asset. Don't underestimate health. We can invest in health. And what I was hearing, I've never heard someone talking, apart from the Victoria Falls project. So we need to make sure that we are elevating the health sector as an area where people can invest. One thing that we need to be aware of is that in the UK, we now have got more business owners who are working in the health and social care. People who are multi-millionaires in the UK, Zimbabweans. 10 years ago, I used to know 7 millionaires who are in the health and social care, but right now I've lost count. There are so many people. So these people want to invest, and some of them end up just investing in their Range Rovers. But that's not what we are looking for. We have been banned when we try to use friends, relatives, and we have been shown neighbors building this and all that. That has happened. But one thing which I like about Zimbabweans is that the diaspora, we are resilient. Even if we have been banned, we are still interested. Do you know why we're interested? Because when I go to Zimbabwe today, I got involved in an accident in going to Lusaka. If I need urgent care, I may die without getting it, even if I'm from UK, even if I'm from USA, if I'm from Australia. So that's why we've invested interest in our health system. And that's the same thing also, my parent, my mom need that same care. So to me, if we're talking of sustainability, you can't talk about climate forgetting your own health. Otherwise, yes, the sun won't be burning you, but you'll be dead. So you need to understand that COVID taught us a lesson. that if we are not allowed to travel out, then our health system has to be robust, has to be strong to look after us. So that's one thing that we need to look into. And we have got success stories whereby I started this BC Leadership Academy, and I'm proud to say we have trained over 600 doctors, healthcare assistants, nurses, pharmacists, physiotherapists, to lead effectively, because we saw that there was a gap. You put somebody into a CEO position, into a clinical leader without training. You're using their clinical skills, how to suture, and you're expecting them to transfer those skills into leadership. That does not work, and it's a disaster. So this is one thing that we are proud of, which we've been finding that it's working. And we've got also success stories. Dr. Jakanani. Dr. Jakanani is a radiologist. He was here in the UK, he went to Zimbabwe, and he's one person who is having private practice which is flourishing, and he's also doing charity work at Harare Hospital and in Parliament. He goes and he interprets X-rays for free, but he was also benefiting in the private sector. So
what has been your funding model when it comes to your project in terms of the training program and also the upskilling that you give to these different communities?
One good thing about Zimbabweans, we like to learn. And I'm really impressed by the Zimbabweans on the ground. They actually, some of them, they are paying for their fees to learn with us. And we also have some scholarships. People who deserve can also get scholarships, and then they learn for free. So the